scientists crack the case of the melting sea stars. Imagine billions of sea stars, once vibrant and thriving, suddenly dissolving into goo. This isn't a scene from a horror movie. It's a real-life ecological disaster that baffled scientists for over a decade. But now, the mystery is finally solved. Researchers from Washington and British Columbia have identified the culprit behind one of the most devastating marine disease outbreaks in history. A wasting disease that decimated sea star populations from Alaska to California. And this is the part most people miss. It wasn't a virus, as once suspected, but a strain of bacteria called Vibrio pectenicida. The crisis began in 2013 when sea stars along North America's west coast started dying en masse. Among the 20 affected species, the sunflower star, a pizza-sized predator, was hit hardest. A staggering 90% of their global population, or over 5 billion individuals, perished. This wasn't just a loss for the sea stars, it had a ripple effect across the entire ecosystem. With their main predators gone, sea urchin populations exploded, devouring vast kelp forests and leaving behind barren ocean landscapes. For 12 long years, scientists struggled to pinpoint the cause. Early theories pointed to a virus, but a new study published in Nature Ecology Evolution reveals the truth. It was bacteria all along. Biologist Alyssa Lois Gaiman of the Hakai Institute notes, "It's not surprising it's a Vibrio. What's surprising is it took us so long to find out." But here's where it gets controversial. This isn't the first time scientists thought they'd found the answer. In 2014, researchers blamed a denzovirus, only to be proven wrong later. So, what makes this discovery different? The key, Gaiman explains, was looking beyond the sea star's external tissues to their blood-like internal fluid. Her team not only found higher levels of Vibrio pectenicida in 6 stars, but also successfully isolated the bacteria, grew it in a lab, and induced the wasting disease in healthy stars, a feat previous researchers couldn't achieve. This is a much more convincing article, says marine microbiologist Rebecca Vega Thurber. We had the technology in 2013. We just looked in the wrong place. But the emotional toll of this research can't be overlooked. Gaiman recalls childhood memories of spotting sunflower stars in tide pools, a sight now incredibly rare. If you go now, you'd be very lucky to find one, she says. The species is now critically endangered, with the U.S. government proposing it as threatened. Studying a disease that gruesomely dissolves its victims, arms detaching and bodies melting away, is emotionally draining, especially for the research assistants who cared for these animals. Yet there's hope. With the cause identified, scientists are already testing probiotics to protect healthy stars and exploring ways to restore populations. We can actually try to recover the species, Gaiman says. But here's the bigger question. Can we prevent such disasters in the future? And what does this discovery mean for other marine ecosystems facing similar threats? As we celebrate this breakthrough, the future of research hangs in the balance. Proposed budget cuts to the U.S. Geological Survey could shutter labs like Marrowstone, where much of this work was conducted. Will we let funding challenges undo years of progress? Or will we rally to protect both the science and the species it saves? The choice is ours, and the clock is ticking. Billions of starfish killed by mystery disease. Scientists finally know why. Imagine witnessing the decimation of billions of starfish over just 10 years. An environmental crisis so profound, it challenges our understanding of marine health. And here's where it gets controversial. Until now, scientists struggled for years to pinpoint what caused this catastrophic die-off of more than 5 billion sea stars along the Pacific coastline of North America. But recent research finally sheds light on the mystery. Since 2013, a relentless disease known as sea star wasting syndrome has swept from Mexico up to Alaska, decimating over 20 different starfish species. Among the hardest hit was the sunflower sea star, which saw its population plummet by approximately 90% within just the first 5 years of the epidemic. This was no ordinary decline. It was a gruesome phenomenon where the creatures would develop lesions, their arms would fall off, and ultimately they would disintegrate. Marine ecologist Alyssa Gaiman from the Hawkeye Institute in British Columbia describes these starfish as having puffy, straight-out arms when healthy. But once affected by wasting disease, they become unrecognizable, covered with lesions and losing their limbs. The cause? It turns out to be bacteria, specifically Vibrio pectenicida, which have also infected shellfish like oysters and clams. This discovery was made possible through meticulous analysis of a critical component of the sea star's physiology, the coelomic fluid, the internal body fluid that bathes their organs. The breakthrough clears up a long-standing enigma. For years, scientists suspected various pathogens, including viruses, but initial focus on certain densoviruses was misguided. These microbes are actually normal residents in healthy sea stars, not culprits. The real challenge was that early tissue studies missed the bacterial presence because they looked at dead animals whose bodily fluids had already drained away. This new research, by examining the fluid in live, intact sea stars, identified Vibrio bacteria as the aggressor. Given that identifying the cause now becomes a game changer, efforts to save remaining sea star populations may accelerate. The International Union for Conservation of Nature classifies the sunflower sea star as critically endangered, heightening the urgency to intervene. Researchers like Melanie Prentice suggest that it might be possible to identify which individual starfish are still healthy and consider options such as relocating survivors or breeding them in captivity for reintroduction once conditions improve. Another layer of complexity is the link between climate change and the spread of Vibrio bacteria. These bacteria thrive in warmer waters, which means rising ocean temperatures could be intensifying the epidemic. A connection that opens yet another avenue of scientific investigation. Future studies are likely to explore whether certain starfish populations have developed natural resistance or if treatments, perhaps probiotics, could help bolster their defenses. This issue extends beyond the starfish themselves. They serve a crucial role in maintaining the balance of their ecosystems by preying on excess sea urchins. With fewer starfish to keep these herbivores in check, sea urchin populations have exploded, leading to the destruction of kelp forests, habitats vital for countless marine creatures, from fish to sea otters. In Northern California alone, nearly 95% of kelp forests have vanished in a decade, transforming what some call the rainforests of the ocean. The hope is that with these newfound insights, scientists can formulate effective strategies to restore starfish numbers and aid in the regrowth of kelp forests. If successful, this could help reverse some of the ecological damage inflicted by this mysterious and devastating disease, and remind us just how interconnected our marine environments really are.